Trustee, Mr. Pendleton, are all the board members present?
No, not yet.
No, I believe that all of the audit committee, the academic affairs and student affairs committee members are present.
Okay.
I know at least one board member that will not be joining the academic affairs committee meeting. So if we're waiting on everyone's attendance, we're not going to achieve that for the first meeting.
Okay, well, then it's okay to go ahead and get started.
Yes.
Okay. Well, good morning, everyone. The
Good
June 17th, 2021 Academic Affairs and Student Affairs Committee is now called to order. But before we get started, we need to make certain findings on the record regarding the necessity for conducting this meeting by electronic participation without a physical quorum present due to the coronavirus pandemic. In accordance with the Tennessee Code annotated section 8-44-108B2, as chair of the Academic Affairs and Student Affairs Committee, I offer the following facts and circumstances in support of a finding of necessity for the Academic Affairs and Student Affairs Committee to conduct its meeting without a physical quorum present. The Academic Affairs and Student Affairs Committee is scheduled to take up important committee matters that require timely action by the committee, including the approval of a program modifications, a TSU intellectual property policy, and key reports on accreditation and COVID-19 related matters. Participation by electronic means is necessitated by ongoing health and safety issues pertaining to the COVID-19 pandemic. Electronic participation for the committee meeting is necessary to ensure the safety of all board members, staff, and guests while the institution implements additional measures to resume its in-person operations. Accordingly, I move that the Academic Affairs and Student Affairs Committee find that participation by a quorum of the Academic Affairs and Student Affairs Committee members by electronic means of communication is necessary. Is there a second?
Second.
The questions on the motion to find that participation by a quorum of the Academic Affairs and Student Affairs Committee members by electronic means of communication is necessary. Secretary Pendleton, please call the roll, sir.
Thank you. Trustee Martin?
Yes.
Trustee Johnson? Trustee Seckman?
Aye.
We have 3 ayes.
The motion carries, and then we'll proceed with the meeting with a quorum present. At this time, we need to call the roll. Secretary Pendleton, please call the roll, sir.
Trustee Martin?
Here.
Trustee Johnson?
Here.
Trustee Seckman?
Here.
Trustee Thomas?
Present.
We have a quorum, Madam Chairman.
Thank you. Committee members, if you cannot hear or speak to other committee members or board members, please state so now. Also, for each committee member participating electronically, please identify any individual who is present in the location which you are participating. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the March 11, 2021 Academic Affairs and Student Affairs Committee meeting minutes. The Academic Affairs and Student Affairs, the Academic Affairs and Student Affairs Committee March 11, 2021 meeting minutes are included for your review in board materials for the June 17, 2021 board meeting. I move for the Academic Affairs and Student Affairs Committee to recommend to the full board the approval of the March 11, 2021 Academic Affairs and Student Affairs Committee meeting minutes as contained in board materials for the June 17, 2021 board meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? The questions on the motion to recommend to the full board the approval of the March 11, 2021 Academic Affairs and Student Affairs Committee meeting minutes as contained in board materials for the June 17, 2021 board meeting. Secretary Pendleton, please call the roll.
Trustee Martin,
Aye.
Trustee Johnson,
Aye.
Trustee Segment.
Aye.
We have 3 ayes.
Thank you. The motion is approved. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the 2020-2021 tenure and promotion recommendations. The materials for this agenda item are included for your review in board materials for the June 17, 2021 board meeting. Dr. Glover or your designee, will you provide information in connection with this particular agenda item?
Thank you, Chair Martin. I'm calling on Provost Harris to lead this.
Good morning. Thank you, President Glover. Thank you, Chairman Trustee Martin. University conducted its rigorous tenure and promotion process all the way from the department through the college, the system, academic affairs, and to the president. And what you have in front of you, recommended by the president, is the result of this process. And I'm proud to say that we conducted it during COVID and maintained the regular commitment to quality as we have always done. Thank you.
Dr. Glover, did you want to add anything to that?
No, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Glover and Dr. Harris. I move for the Academic Affairs and Student Affairs Committee to recommend to the full board the approval of 2020-2021 tenure and promotion recommendations as contained in board materials for the June 17, 2021 board meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? The questions on the motion to recommend to the full board the approval of the 2020-2021 tenure and promotion recommendations as contained in board materials for the June 17, 2021 board meeting. Secretary Pendleton, please call the roll, sir.
Trustee Martin,
Aye.
Trustee Johnson,
Aye.
Trustee Segment.
Aye.
We have 3 ayes.
Thank you. The motion is approved. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the academic program modification, a change to the MS Psychology Counseling Psychology Concentration admission standards. The material for this agenda item are included for your review in board materials for the June 17, 2021 board meeting. Dr. Glover, will you or your designee provide information in connection with this particular agenda item, please?
Thank you, Chair Martin. Yes, Provost Harris.
Thank you, President Glover, Trustee Martin. This is a part of our ongoing efforts that begun with full force over a year ago, and that is to remove GRE and substitute it with other appropriate mechanisms that can attract students and assure their success. So this is a continuation of this ongoing effort, which I believe in the future, we will make more recommendations to President Glover on this.
Thank you, Dr. Harris and President Glover. I move for the Academic Affairs and Student Affairs Committee to recommend to the full board the approval of an academic program modification a change to the MS Psychology, Counseling Psychology Concentration Admission Standard as contained in board materials for the June 17th, 2021 board meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? The questions on the motion to recommend to the full board the approval of an academic program modification, a change to the MS Psychology, Counseling Psychology Concentration Admission Standards as contained in board materials for the June 17, 2021 board meeting. Secretary Pendleton, please call the roll, sir.
Trustee Martin,
Aye.
Trustee Johnson,
Aye.
Trustee Seckman.
Aye.
We have 3 ayes.
Thank you. The motion is approved. The next item on the agenda is the approval of an academic program modification, a change to the MS Biology admission standards. The material for this agenda item are included for your review in the board materials for the June 17, 2021 board meeting. Dr. Glover or her designee will provide information connected with this agenda item.
Thank you, Chair Martin. Provost Harris.
President Glover, Trustee Martin, just as we discussed earlier, this is yet another effort in that direction.
Can you repeat that, Provost Harris?
Yes, sorry. President Glover, Trustee Martin, just as I mentioned earlier, the removal of the GRE from the admission criteria in the Master of Science in Biology is, as we mentioned earlier, a continued enhanced effort of ours to be competitive, attract qualified students, and find a variety of alternative ways to know and predict success and to assure student graduation.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Harris and President Glover. I move for the Academic Affairs and Student Affairs Committee to recommend to the full board the approval of an academic program modification, a change to the MS Biology admission standards as contained in board materials for the June 17, 2021 board meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? The questions on the motion to recommend to the full board the approval of an academic program modification, a change to the MS Biology admission standards as contained in board materials for the June 17, 2021 board meeting. Secretary Pendleton, please call the roll.
Trustee Martin,
Aye.
Trustee Johnson,
Aye.
Trustee Seckman.
Aye.
We have 3 ayes.
Thank you, sir. The motion is approved.
Dr. Martin, may I ask a question?
Yes.
So I understand the GRE requirements, all of the institutions around TSU and in the country actually are relaxing due to COVID-19. And I also heard that UTK was considering relaxing ACT score requirements. Is there any, do we have anything from academic affairs on ACT or GRE? Do we have like a general policy coming up in near future for TSU for relaxation of GRE and ACT requirements?
We're still looking at that. We know that our peer institutions, some are relaxing and some are still discussing it. So we're still discussing it right now.
Okay.
Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the approval of an academic program modification, a move for the Department of Criminal Justice from the College of Liberal Arts to the College of Public Service. This item's been tabled for further internal discussion and consideration. The next item on the agenda is the approval of TSU intellectual property policy. The materials for this agenda item are included for your review in board materials for the June 17, 2021 board meeting. Dr. Glover, will you or your designee provide information connected with this agenda item, please?
Thank you, Chair Martin. Dr. Francis Williams will present this. Dr. Williams.
Yes, good morning, everyone. So
Good morning.
TSU was previously under the Tennessee Board of Regents, which had a process and policies in place for handling intellectual properties. These policies automatically became the policies of TSU under the Focus Act. Now the Division of Research and Sponsored Programs has embarked on reviewing and revamping our TBR policy to develop a new IP policy with the goal of tailoring this policy specifically for TSU. So this policy will reflect, or does reflect, current national university research standards. It provides incentives to foster outstanding research and monetizing and commercializing research, patents, and other intellectual property. This policy was developed by reviewing intellectual property policies at other well-regarded institutions. We invited and received input from campus constituents, including the Faculty Senate, our division, Academic Affairs, and obtaining legal sufficiency review by staff in the Office of the General Counsel. So at this time, we're asking the Board of Trustees to adopt this revised policy.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. President Glover. I move for the Academic Affairs and Student Affairs Committee to recommend to the full board the approval of the TSU intellectual property policy as contained in board materials for the June 17, 2021 board meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? The questions on the motion to recommend to the full board the approval of the TSU intellectual property policy as contained in board materials for the June 17, 2021 board meeting. Secretary Pendleton, please call the roll.
Trustee Martin,
Aye.
Trustee Johnson, Trustee Seckman.
Aye.
We have 3 ayes.
Thank you, sir. The motion is approved. The next item on the agenda is the report on SACS accreditation review matters. Information pertaining to this agenda item is included in your June 17, 2021 board materials. I'm asking President Glover and her designee to provide pertinent information related to this agenda item. Now, this is an informational discussion item only, so no vote will be required.
Yeah. Thank you, Chair Martin. A couple of you had asked about our executive director in charge of accreditation. And so we're asking her to present this report today to you. Dr. Charlize Anderson, if you would do that, please.
Thank you, Madam President. Good morning. Good morning to all. And I thank you for the opportunity to bring a brief report on the SACS-COC reaffirmation of accreditation process. In July of 2020, under the fine leadership of Dr. Harris, we began the self-study to address the university's reaffirmation of accreditation. 83 programs were under review, 1 associate's, 39 bachelor's, 24 masters, 7 doctoral, 1 education specialist, and 11 graduate certificates. At that time, Provost Harris and myself collaborated to put into action to mobilize the campus community. First, expanding the then existing steering committee. That committee consisted of various members of leadership, senior leadership, as well as all members of the president's executive cabinet. The steering committee met weekly. There were 2-hour meetings. As well, there were forums held over a 3-day session during the spring semester with the aim to provide transparency, to raise awareness of the campus to the campus community. And that was a success. It was open to all members of the campus community, and we made it available where it could fit anyone's schedule. So there were 3 different sessions held. As well, mock sections were conducted. All individuals who were identified either by the president and the provost and or by SACS-COC Reaffirmation Committee participated in being prepared for the interview. I'm pleased to report that the steering committee did an excellent job in providing the reports submitted to SACS-COC. I am also pleased to report that the on-site visit was a success. The on-site visit was conducted March 16th through March 18th of this year. We received the SACS-COC on-site reaffirmation committee in conducting the visit virtually. There were a total of 19 interview sessions held over that 2.5-day period. Over 100 persons, whether faculty, staff, and students, were interviewed by the SACS-COC Reaffirmation Committee. I am pleased to report that on-site visit was very much a success. Actually, when the final report came from the Reaffirmation Committee, we received that on April the 30th. Our preparation for on-site, it was stated in the report that that was one of the strengths of the university. So again, it was a success and we are pleased. In the final reaffirmation of accreditation report, we were found compliant for 72 of the 74 standards. Now, that is huge. If you take a moment to visit the SACS-COC website, their most published data indicates the top 10 most frequently cited standards. At on-site, after on-site, there are 9 standards that are most frequently cited as being in non-compliance. And I am pleased to report that TSU nailed those. Those are the most difficult standards to be found compliant in, and TSU was found compliant in each of those. So again, pleased to report that is a success. There are 2 remaining standards to be addressed, and that relates to the institutional audit. We are looking forward to the next steps, and for a discussion or report on the next steps, I will defer to President Glover and Provost Harris.
Thank you. I'm gonna, for next steps, we're gonna go to Provost Harris. We did communicate things to the TSU family. We can make sure we communicate to the alumni, to the campus, to the campus community, to make sure they knew where we were with SACS-COC. So we have 2 standards left. And so Dr. Harris, you wanna just go to the next steps? Oh, Dr. Harris? You're on mute, Dr. Harris.
Oh, good. Thank you. Yes, we moved forward on this. So we also had a very short time to get this SEX through. I also want to emphasize a few points as we go forward, as the president asked me. One, we took the opportunity and advantage of going through SEX, not only to be successful at SEX, which we were against the odds, but what we also did, we used this opportunity to identify areas that we want to go back and address as years come by. And we've been working with the president on those areas that, yeah, we were found in compliance, but we know that changes need to take place. Things need to be transformed, done, transformation needs to take place. And we use this opportunity of a very close look at what we do and how we do to do so. So I want to emphasize that. I also want to emphasize that where we're going from here. We in August, we are going to prepare our response report to the visiting committee. It is our belief that by then 2019 and 2020 will be ready to be part of that report, and we will complete with that by December 2021. All the material will be presented to the board of SACS, and the board of SACS meets December 4 through 7 during those meetings, we believe that they will vote to reaffirm Tennessee State University for 10 more years. And again, I can't emphasize enough the pace in which we took this on. We addressed a lot. In July of last year, we were in non-compliance in 44 of the standards. And under the leadership of President Glover, I would say we can compete with any institution in the country in where we are. And as soon as we complete with the audits and submit them, we will all know that the next 10 years are reaffirmed, and we're moving on to continue to address issues we've identified. Thank you, President Glover. Thank you, Trustee Martin.
And Chair Martin, and thank you. I want to just add that, let's make sure we're clear that we had hoped for the audit report to be done by today. I mean, speaking with the state auditors, they just haven't, it's just not ready. It's almost done. They tell us it's almost ready. So we're, as soon as the audit report is ready, we're going to submit that. That's the only thing that was missing from the SAC COC accreditation was the audit report, so that we could be found compliant then with the two standards we were not, which we could not be compliant because of the audit report has to be in hand. So we don't have that. So as soon as we get that, we'll be ready. But as Dr. Harris said, as Dr. Anderson said, we're using this time now to assess just where we are, what things are needed, the opportunity to address the areas that we need to be improved. And so our committee is continuing. We're looking at different areas as Avon Williams campus. That's how we want to move forward in the greatest direction. And so that's where we are now with this. Yes, it's one thing to get SAC COC reaffirmation, which is where we are. But we also want to look at how we can even make TSU greater. SAC is one part of how to make the university great. So that's where we are now. We're SAC COC will be behind us in December, but then we'll bring the new programs we want to have improved. We want you to look at. We're working on a new program, so we're going to bring to you and just working on other areas of improvement.
A question, please. Dr. Glover, are we saying that the 6/30/2020 audit is what the state is working on?
19 and 20.
Okay, so they have not completed 6/30/19. Excuse me, and they haven't completed 6/30/20. So that was the reason that we did not comply with that particular standard. Is that right?
The reason we didn't comply because they didn't have the audit in hand.
That's what I said, that they didn't have it.
The state did not have it ready, but it's not all the state's fault. There were things we did not get to them in time.
Okay.
Had we gotten some things to the state in time, to the auditors in time, it could have been on a faster schedule for them. But so it's part of our fault too that it wasn't done by the time it got here.
Will we get a chance to look at the audit, for instance, if there's something in there, to see if we can address it so that those comments could go in to SACs at the same time that any recommendations would go in?
Well, when we receive the audit report, it would have their findings, some audit findings.
I mean, will we be able to address it and send some of our comments in to them with the report?
Oh, I hear what you're saying. Well, they've already sent us the report. And when we send our information in, we have 150 days, which is really 5 months. When we put that together, we can add in what information we need to add in.
Right, okay. I know we did the initial one, I'm just saying, but if there's something else, we can add it in, which improves our position with
If I may
that.
add something, maybe.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm asking permission if I can add something.
That's
Yeah.
Harris.
As I mentioned earlier, our trustee call in August, we sent our official response to the visit. So even though we got the results and they were good and we're working on the 213s, in August, we sent the official response. By then, we will have the audits. We work with the auditors on a daily basis, and we don't see any surprises or anything. They will have it for us. And when we address the August official response from the president to SACs, in that official report, we can address any issue we want to that will also come up if there's any finding we want to address in the audit. So maybe
Okay,
that clarifies. It's an official date, an official activity in August that we are required to do.
Okay, let me go back and try to restate this. I'm not sure that I am making myself very clear. So let me try to go back and restate it. I am merely suggesting that anything that we can submit along with the final report that we get from the auditors that would be beneficial to us, that we do so.
Exactly. And that's exactly what we need to do.
Okay.
Thank you.
That was clear, Trustee Coe.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Anderson and Dr. Harris and President Glover for your report, but not only for that, for your hard work. I know Dr. Glover took the lead on this to make sure that there were a lot of changes made. She took this seriously, and Dr. Harris worked with her on this, and Dr. Anderson. So we just appreciate all the hard work that has gone into it. And now we're being able to see the benefits of all your hard work. So thank you so very much. The next item on the agenda is the Academic Affairs Report. The information regarding this Academic Affairs and Student Affairs Committee agenda item is included in your June 17th, 2021 board materials. President Glover, I'm asking you to provide information related to this agenda item. And again, this is informational discussion item only, so there will be no vote required.
Great, thank you. Provost Harris.
Thank you, President Glover, Trustee Martin. You all have the report that is there. I will not go into all the details and be lengthy. With your permission, Trustee Martin, I'd just like to highlight some of the main things that we'd like to report here. In terms of the spring 2021, just as we connected it and we tried to be comprehensive and to connect it all, and as we spoke about SACS and how we addressed COVID and other things and changes that have taken place, we are working very, very hard to address transformation and changes. And we know that people support what they help to build. So during spring 2021, we had a series of town halls in academic affairs with the administrative assistants. They have a major role that sometimes is not noticed. They're the front line, the professional staff, and of course with faculty. We listened, we heard, we took note and saw what's overlapping with what we think and learned about other things that we can address and should address and make a difference. We created also an administrative professional council of the admins, which has been turning out to be very, very helpful as they're on the front line, giving us ideas and suggestions what and how we can do better. I also want to say that the COVID, of course, it's a bad term to use maybe, but gave us the opportunity to go paperless on a lot of things, and we are going to continue to do it, but not only continue to do it, we are working with all constituencies to enhance it, which will mainly expedite process and no need to shuffle heavy paper across the campus. A word here about degree works. I chose to put this here with the president for your information. Degree works is a key software that we use that follows the students from when they are admission through progression and graduation. The time it was implemented, it had some issues and it wasn't working smooth, which caused intense labor in specific cases to deal with this. We are now working with consultants daily. We put together a task force. We are going to streamline this. We're going to improve the process, and our goal is zero issues with degree works. You come in, your credits are there, you know where you're going, and you're graduating. And I believe we will achieve this zero tolerance errors for degree works, and a lot of work has been done there. One quick thing here, we had, of course, new faculty this year. It was very different and strange, of course, to bring on new faculty to campus, socialize them to our campus. We spent a lot of time trying to share with them the legacy, the history, and where we're going to. And at the end of the year, we had a series of meetings with them to learn from them how they feel, what they see, and so on. Excuse me. Moving on to plans for fall 21. I want to emphasize, Trustee Martin, that in academic affairs, we are moving forward. We're very integrated new process that we are created during the pandemic, as I said, with paperless, with being strategic, but tactical and very, very responsive. That students know when they get to us, we will be back with them within 24 hours and address issues that come up. Ways to go, but we're working on it. In terms of our planning, the president mentioned earlier that we're on the move with the energy and are going to continue to make sure that our programs are current, relevant, and attractive because higher education and the nation, the economy, technology is changing. And we all know that those that don't keep up in the front line are not going to win. And we, with all of you, want to be there. We are in the process of implementing a PhD in agriculture. It will begin in the spring of 22. We are in the process of developing a bachelor's in Africana Black Studies. We've had a team that has been working on this for quite a while. I've been following them and working with them. It's an interdisciplinary team. Their deadline to complete the work is in 13 days, and we will be ready to move forward. We are moving very rapidly to be competitive with a PhD in higher education, something we lacked. Our competitors are eating at us at that, and we are moving rapidly to assure that by fall of 2022, this will be here and it will be an excellent program. The same thing online on MBA, fall 2022, it is going to be executed and on the way. And of course, I won't get into all the process that it takes internally, externally, SACS, THAC, and all of those things. We're taking care of that. We're also working on something that you might find of interest. That's something that I believe in very much, and that is redesignated bachelor's in interdisciplinary studies that has been done in other universities with my experience, and that is more flexibility. We have many students with many hours, and we are still a bit rigid, and it is challenging to assure that they get a degree because they have earned credit, and with adjusting and being less rigid, those students will graduate in an interdisciplinary degree. Our interdisciplinary degree is going in under a significant overhaul. I do believe, Trustee Martin, that when we are finished with it, we will see a significant increase in graduation in interdisciplinary studies and less students who unfortunately have so many hours and are not graduated. I'm very passionate about that. I've seen that working at grows. It is now grown to be large graduating students in universities. The president is also, of course, leading it, very passionate about it, all of those programs. And we're following her leadership on it. We've also have a few more I listed here. I won't name them, other programs. And I will also tell you that once in a while, we do have conversations in very interesting hours about, you know what, I had an idea about this program. What do you think about it? And we work on it. and we're going to make it happen. We are committed under leadership of President Glover to be current, relevant, attractive to our students, and make sure with what I mentioned earlier that we address it comprehensive. When we brought to you the strategic plan and we asked you just a week, the last time we met, it was a week before we had the SACS meeting. I want to remind you, which was a very, very interesting time for us to meet with you when we knew SACS were coming. We knew we were doing well, but you never know until they came. We were optimistic, and I'm glad it worked out, because that's a tough time to meet a week with your board a week before SACS comes. But it turned out fine. At that point, we also asked to approve the mission, which you did, and the strategic plan. At the time, we committed that the strategic plan that the president approved is a living document. We're going to continue to work on it. We're going to adjust it. We put a fantastic team together that is working on it. They're doing an excellent work. This isn't something that is sitting on the shelves. We have brought in many metrics and implementing them to be able to know exactly where we are. And in August of this year, I will submit a report to the president on the progress that we are doing on strategic planning. And then I'm sure that the president, at her choice, will share with the board. Last, well, maybe not last, but important on this list, we spoke at that meeting quite a bit about the thing that we were working that was so important for us, the quality enhancement plan. And it was good. It was received very well, and that's fine that it was received well by SACS. But what is important, I think, to emphasize, Trustee Martin, and to the board on behalf of the president, that this program is going into action. We have hired a director. We are committed to it, and it is taking place, and a lot of changes are taking place. Why? As we said at the time, we seek to promote student success through an integrated advising system that we have to address. We all know, and the president certainly leads the charge on the fact that our advising for quite a few years needs to be tightened and integrated. That's what QEP does. It will also include improving the support resources that we have for the students, and also key, especially in this world, preparing the students, as we said, not only to have a comprehensive and an advising and support system to get through, which could be difficult and challenging at times, but also prepare them for jobs, more importantly, maybe career planning. So it's not just you finish your degree here and off you go, now go find a job, but from day one to focus the student on career development. That could be all the way through taking an internship at your first year or your second year. So the director has begun, work is going on, and we hope to see results. I won't go through it, but the last page here has a series of professional development for faculty and staff that took place. I won't go into it, but for the sake of time, but I do want to emphasize that this year, despite COVID, despite all the challenges we had a very, very rigorous professional development plan in place for faculty, for administrators, and for staff. We collaborated with a variety of national organizations for faculty development and diversity consortiums and so on, and brought in quite a bit of resources for it. because at the end of the day, we believe that all those changes that we will need to and are committed to do will require professional development for staff and for faculty. So we're not only just putting expectations on faculty and staff and saying, this is what we're going to do. I started with saying we listen and we talk and we have town halls, and we also provide any tools and professional development that are needed. So on behalf of President Glover, we're committed to keep moving with full energy and a transformation approach. And I thank you, Trustee Martin, and I hope I wasn't too long.
No, that was a great report.
Quick question.
President Glover?
Quick question.
Yes.
Is there anywhere in the curriculum currently or plan for any exposure to the concept of blockchain? We are, as you so aptly put it, responsible for our children being competitive in the marketplace. And if we don't keep up with things that are transformative in the marketplace, our children are not prepared with thinking around those issues. Blockchain is a concept that is likely here to stay. Blockchain, digitalization, etc., is something I'm asking whether or not there's anywhere in any curriculum anywhere that is exposing our children to blockchain.
Trustee McKenzie, I owe you an answer, and I will get back to you.
Thank you.
And Trustee McKenzie, if I may add, President Glover and I, we had an exchange on maybe teaming up a group of faculty to explore the opportunities that TSU may have with blockchain and cryptocurrency.
Yes.
It has not been materialized yet, but there was an initial conversation on that.
Chair Martin, I have a question also.
Okay.
That may be related. TSU has a chair of excellence in finance and banking. Is that chair occupied currently?
Provost Harris in the College of Business.
That chair, Trustee, is not occupied currently. The president and I and the dean of the college have spoken about it several times, and we are going to have someone in that position.
We have some very specific. We've had some very specific conversations about that, Provost and I. The fact that it's been open for a while, and that we had some thoughts on how to get that position filled, and we have not shared everything with the dean yet. So we have to call in and meet with her on that, because it can allow for some very specific opportunities that we can look for. And blockchain, it could be slid up under that, because
Yes.
Or maybe in computer science. We're not sure where blockchain would be, but we have had some discussions on that, especially with Dr. Segman and I, just about the database, how we can handle just various aspects of it. So it may be up under that chair, but we're not sure where it might be. We have had some conversations on that. To answer Trustee McKenzie's question, to answer your question, we're working on that chair. And so we're going to meet with the dean and see what we can do to move that process up.
Okay.
Madam Chairman, and thank you, Dr. Glover, for that comment. And I'm very much interested in that, because Dolores Lewis and I raised the funds that began that chair when she was at the university through the Tennessee Bankers Association. So I am very much interested in and I know she would be also. So thank you for looking at that.
Thank you.
And I have one more question. Dr. Harris, we have a major in architectural engineering, but as I understand it, it does not allow our students to sit for the architecture exam because there's a design element that's missing in it. Is there any thoughts on us adding architecture going forward? Seems like it would be an area of opportunity.
Trustee Pinnock, I will get back to you with an answer on that.
Madam Chair, I also have a question.
Okay.
Dr. Harris, under the quality enhancement plan for technology, is there opportunity to enhance our digital resources, specifically our TSU website? I know it could be more user-friendly, and I think the problem that a lot of students run into with trying to find student resources is that the information is there, but it's definitely a little harder to find. And I know, speaking with the director in financial aid, a lot of the information that they're trying to relate to students on a one-on-one basis can be found on the TSU website, but it's extremely hard. And when I try to go find it, I was like, I can't find it. But I just wanted to know if there's an opportunity to kind of revamp our digital resources. Also looking at Vanderbilt, I go on their website and try to just navigate and see what are some things that they're doing that we could probably implement. They have a digital, I'm pretty sure it's a robot, but it's a conversation bot. They can just type in what their question is and it automatically navigates what they're looking for. I just feel like that would probably enhance our customer service as well as students finding the answers to things they need rather than going to that direct person.
And you're exactly right, Ms. Thomas, because that's a question. Our website enhancement is what we're undertaking now. There are several areas of and several aspects of it that the team is taking a look at. So we'll take your comments and advice with that also. I appreciate that.
Any additional questions or comments? President Glover and Dr. Harris, thank you so much for your report. I think that this program, the new programs, will be well received and it'll make TSU more competitive. And I definitely look forward to hearing more about it. So thank you. The next item on the agenda is Student Affairs Report. Information, this Academic Affairs and Student Affairs Committee item is in your board materials. President Glover, will you provide information related to this agenda item? And again, this is informational discussion item only, so no vote will be required.
Thank you. I'm going to call on Associate Vice President and Dean of Students, Dean Stevenson.
Thank you, Madam President and Chair Martin, and to this committee for the opportunity to share what's happening in the world of student affairs here at the university. I want to start off with just kind of announcing how we ended last year. We ended last year with our SEC week, which produced 4 new leaders, our SGA top 4. And I want to just mention those students' name. The SGA president is now Derek Sanders. He is a senior English major from Cincinnati, Ohio. Javari Jefferson is a senior biology major, and she's serving as the new SGA vice president, and she is from Memphis, Tennessee. Miss Tennessee State University is Mallory Moore, a senior occupational therapy major from Huntsville, Alabama. And then finally, Mr. TSU, Mark Davis, a mass communication senior from Cincinnati, Ohio. We just want to salute those students for working hard and even throughout this pandemic, stepping up for student leadership, and this level of shared government is awesome. So we're training them now, getting them prepared for next year, but I did want to salute them. Also want to take a point of personal privilege as we reflect on this pandemic year, and serving our students, to salute a lot of what I call the TSU frontline workers, and a lot of those were in our division, our police department, our housing staff, our health, our IQ team. All of these individuals interacted with students, and they did so in person because those were services they continued to have to provide. And I just want to salute them and thank them for doing an amazing job. Tennessee State University took care of the students that we invited back to campus, and we did it in a very collective, collaborative, and intentional way. And a lot of our staff were responsible for that. One example of that is that we had a nurse who had to go down to our IQ unit to test students. and we had a little bit of a snowstorm and some ice that was left over. While she was down there testing the students, this nurse fell, had a concussion and some severe lacerations, but as soon as she was released from her doctor's care, she got right back to testing our students, and we tested thousands of students. 300 students entered our IQ zone over the course of that year. But I do want to just salute, those TSU frontline workers who did an amazing job during the pandemic. So I want to go into a little bit about the male initiative here at Tennessee State University and just share some information around that program. We have 12 departments in our division, and so I always try to highlight at least one during this time and share what they're doing. And so our male initiative here at Tennessee State University is really focused on moving the needle on Black men through the collegiate process. What we found in recent research, and this is national research, you can kind of really dig into this, is there's a group called the murky middle. Murky not meaning bad, but just unclear space. That's a group of individuals who have a GPA between 2.0 and 2.8. And the reason why research has suggested that their collegiate paths may be murky is because if you are a high achieving student, honors, you're going to get a lot of attention. If you're a student that's struggling, 2.0 or below, 2.1, you're going to get some attention. But where they were seeing the dropout was between that 2.0 and 2.8. Those students you would think would be okay. And even more so, if you look at national data, African-American men who were in these categories were really being ignored at a lot of institutions. So over the last 3 years, we've been very intentional about creating strategies through some federal dollars to address this. There's three main components of this. One is intentional mentoring. So we match these students. We have about 110 that fall into that category. We match these students with individuals and careers who can mentor, provide information about being successful, ways to navigate the collegiate experience. The second thing that happened is really giving them staff members who are able to give them one-on-one time to also figure out what's happening. Maybe there's some other support services that are needed. And so we have a full staff of four amazing guys who work with these young men every day. And finally, being very intentional to academic coaching in a sense of making sure that these students understand their career choices, career paths. So they also do that. We do something called the GAP program. So we bring these students back over the summer, and during that summertime, we really spend some intensive time to make sure we have our arms around and pushing them towards graduation. That's the ultimate goal of this whole program. And so we've had some really, really amazing success. I think that our staff are very dedicated. I do think we're creating a national model. I think we're going to be, we'll look at the data, and we'll see in the next a year, as we're collecting this data, we're going to see what those graduation rates for this group of individuals, this group of particular Black men, how we've improved that. We've been very, again, intentional on that. Finally, I want to say that we are preparing to return to campus life. So we're getting all of the things in place to make sure we can do that appropriately, including our vaccination plans and how we navigate that space. But we really are excited. The students are excited. There's a great sense of excitement about returning to normal campus life. So to bury the experiences from the pandemic, our student trustee, Ms. Thomas, came up with an amazing idea, and that is to capture this moment through a time capsule. So we have ordered and received that time capsule, and we're gonna put all kind of things. So when that thing come up in 30 years or whatever, we'll be able to tell our TSU story, because it's a good story of how we survived and came together during this moment. So, Madam Chair, that concludes my report.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I have a couple of comments, please, if you don't mind.
Okay.
One, Dr. Stevenson, that program regarding the gap with the males, I think is dynamic. I'm really impressed with that. But because I have a young adult in my home that is a student at TSU, I'm in constant contact with a number of students at TSU. By the way, she'll be coming out pretty soon, so good. But I want to commend you because I'm in contact with those students. When you, during the COVID situation, you and Dr. Johnson and Dr. Glover did a fantastic job of working with those students and keeping them out of trouble because they get restless. I talk to them all the time, so I know they get restless, but you all did a fantastic job of just working with them and keeping them out of trouble. And I know that was a very, very difficult and labor intense project that you all did. So I just wanted the other members to know that. And I did not have an opportunity prior to this time to express that to you. So, but thank you for doing so.
Thank you, Dr. Cole.
Does anyone else have any questions or comments?
I have a comment, Madam Chair.
Okay.
So some things that I feel like Dean Stevenson didn't mention, the students really felt comfortable during this COVID-19 pandemic. I think there was an extreme difference between fall semester and spring semester. Fall semester was a little rocky, just students coming back with all the rules and regulations. But coming back in the spring semester, there were so many things in place for our first 2 weeks were a safer in place protocol that we might not have had the fall semester. Students didn't complain as much. There wasn't as many people eager to go out and party. It really came all full circle. By the end of the year, we were taken care of. That's just the biggest thing that I can thank our university for. Just looking at some of our other peer institutions in Tennessee, they looked like they were going crazy. But Tennessee State continues to be very organized. We were very safe and we still had as much fun as possible. And even during the COVID-19 pandemic, we had a huge snowstorm where we were stuck in the dorms for like a week. But our university administration, they brought food to our dorms. We had fun in the snow. We just had so much fun. The experiences were not lacking even during this pandemic. So I feel like we owe our university so much for that because it could have been worse. So I'm very grateful for that. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for that comment, Trustee Thomas. We appreciate it. And we do know that Dr. Glover and the entire team at TSU went above and beyond during the pandemic. And this time, I, like Dr. Cole, got a lot of positive comments. And that's always good to hear in regards to TSU. So thank everyone for that. Any additional comments or questions? Well, before we adjourn, I just want to take this opportunity to thank Trustee Seckman for his service to the Board of Trustees. He's been with us since the inception of the Board of Trustees, and we've all grown together in our roles on the board. And Trustee Seckman has provided this committee and the board with valuable insight and information from a faculty perspective and through his experience at the university. Trustee Seckman, we wish you well as you move forward and look forward to working with Dr. Johnson. But we're gonna miss you. This was a learning experience for all of us, and you just added so much to this board and in this committee as well. So thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Dr. Martin. This was a great experience, and I would like to address the board in the afternoon session so that I can thank the board and president properly. But thank you very much.
Thank you.
Is there any additional business? Seeing none, is there a motion to adjourn this meeting?
Move to adjourn.
Any discussion? Hearing none, the questions on the motion to adjourn the meeting. Secretary Pilton, please call the roll, sir.
I'm sorry. Trustee Martin,
Aye.
Trustee Johnson,
Aye.
Trustee Seckman.
Aye.
We have 3 ayes.
Thank you. The motion's approved and we're adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay, the next is executive committee.
Right. Good morning, everyone.
I'm going to, if you mind, I'm going to let, make sure one of our board members is joining us.
Steve's here
Oh, okay. There you go.
from Texas.
All right, then I think that we are ready to proceed, Chair Walker.
Very well, thank you. Good morning. The June 17th, 2021 Executive Committee is now called into order. And before we get started, we need to make certain findings on the record regarding the necessity for conducting this meeting by electronic participation without a physical quorum present due to the coronavirus pandemic. Findings of necessity for conducting the executive committee meeting without a physical presence of a quorum in accordance to Tennessee Code annotated section 844108B2. As chair of the executive committee, I offer the following facts and circumstances in support of the findings of necessity for the executive committee to conduct its meeting without a physical presence or quorum. The executive committee is scheduled to take up important matters that require timely action by the committee, including report of the board's committee assignments and information reported by the board secretary. Secondly, participation by electronic means is necessitated by ongoing health and safety issues pertaining to COVID-19 pandemic. And electronic participation for the committee meeting is necessary to ensure the safety of board members, staff, guests, and while the institution implements additional measures to resume its in-person operations. Thirdly, according to, I move that the executive committee find that participation by a quorum of executive committee member meetings by electronic means of communication is necessary. Is there a second?
Second.
Question is in the motion to find that participation by a quorum of the executive committee members by electronic means of communication is necessary. Secretary Pilgrim, please call the roll.
All right, Trustee Walker.
Aye.
Trustee Cole.
Here.
Trustee Corbill.
Aye.
Trustee Martin.
Aye.
We have 4 ayes.
Thank you, and the motion carries. And we'll proceed with the meeting with the quorum present. Thank you very much. This time, we need to call the roll. Secretary Pilgrim, please call the roll.
Trustee Walker.
Present.
Trustee Cole.
Present.
Trustee Corbill.
Present.
Trustee Martin.
Present.
We have a quorum, Chair Walker.
Thank you. Committee members, if you cannot hear or speak to the other committee members or board members, please state so now. Okay. For the committee members participating electronically, please identify any individuals who are present in the location from which you are participating. Okay. All right, the next item on the agenda is the approval of the March 11th, 2021 Executive Committee meeting minutes. The minutes for the Executive Committee March 11th, 2021 meeting are included for your review in the board materials for the June 17, 2021 board meeting. I move for the Executive Committee to recommend to the full board the approval of the March 11th, 2021 Executive Committee meeting minutes as contained in the board materials for June 17, 2021 board meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion? And the question is on the motion to recommend to the full board the approval of the March 11, 2021 Executive Committee meeting minutes contained in the board materials for June 17th, 2021 board meeting. Secretary Pendleton, please call the roll.
Trustee Walker,
Aye.
Trustee Cole,
Aye.
Trustee Corbell,
Aye.
Trustee Martin.
Aye.
We have 4 ayes.
Thank you. The motion is approved. All right, the next item on our agenda is a report on the board's committee assignments. This is an informational item, so no vote is required. So per our board policy on committees, as chair, I am charged with making board committee appointments. Our committees serve for 2 years, and I'm pleased with the momentum, and I cannot stress that enough, that our committees have achieved, and recognizing that our board committees have only been in place for approximately 4 years. So I want to continue the momentum and chemistry developed in our committees by, for the most part, keeping our committees membership intact by recognizing the departure of some members and additions of other members. And to that end, I made the following appointments to the committees, recognizing that a couple of committee appointments, Audit Committee and at-large Executive Committee members, will be subject to board approval later today. The Executive Committee appointments, appointing Trustee Cole as chair, Trustee Martin as vice chair, myself, as well as Richard Lewis to the Executive Committee. To the Audit Committee, Chair Deborah Cole, Chair, Obi McKenzie, Vice Chair, Van Pennick. Academic Affairs and Student Affairs, Pamela Martin as Chair, Andre Johnson as Vice Chair. At this point, William Johnson, Ali Segman, of course, we know that transition is taking place, but in Academic Affairs, and Tia Thomas to that committee. Finance and Budget, Richard Lewis, Chair, Stephen Corbell, Vice Chair, Andre Johnson, part of that committee. All right. Okay, very well. The next item on our agenda is the Secretary's report. And Secretary Pendleton, please provide your reports.
Thank you, Chair Walker. Just wanted to go over a few items with the committee. First, the appointment of board members. So we know that terms come up. The Chair Walker and Trustee McKenzie's terms came up. They were reappointed to serve now a 6-year term on the Board of Trustees. Initially, as we know, when the Focus Act was first created, there were staggered terms. So anyone who was at this point in time reappointed or appointed in place of another board member then will be serving a 6-year term moving forward. And then also Trustee Van Pennick was also appointed by the governor. Those appointments have then now been confirmed by the General Assembly as well. And each one of those members participated in confirmation hearings at the General Assembly in April. With the faculty trustee, as many of you know, the Faculty Senate under the Focus Act, the Faculty Senate is charged with selecting the faculty trustee to serve on the board. Faculty trustee serves for a 2-year term. So this past spring here, the Faculty Senate elected Dr. William Johnson to serve as the new faculty trustee. And his term will basically start July 1st, 2021. And then also, and the board will be taking this up in the board meeting, but we went through a process to select this, to make the recommendation to the board for the student trustee. Again, under the Focus Act, the board is charged with selecting a student trustee. That person serves in that student trustee role for 1 year. And we have a process that we developed since the inception of the board, whereby the president has a process involving the SGA, the Student Government Association, that takes applications, reviews those applications, moves forward some individuals. Those individuals then are interviewed typically by myself, Dean Stevenson, and Chief of Staff, Dr. Curtis Johnson. We advance those and recommendations to the president. The president conducts interviews of the applicants, candidates, and then comes forward with a recommendation to the board. So that will be, as you know, on the agenda and coming forward to you. With respect to legislative appearances, President appeared before the Senate Education Committee for the TSU's budget hearing. We believe that went well, and ultimately the budget was a part of the items that was passed by the General Assembly. And Dr. Glover, I believe, will get into items she deems to be important related to that. As to legislation, on the state level, the governor approved the General Assembly's legislation extending the Board of Trustees to June 30th, 2023. As you know, all state entities, boards are sunsetted, and you have to go through a process of renewal. That was triggered through the performance audit that the comptrollers had. Through that, there was a recommendation and then legislation advanced that extended the Tennessee State University Board of Trustees to June 30th, 2023. Keep in mind, associated with that process, though, is that we'll be undergoing another review by the comptroller's office that will probably start, I'm thinking, some point in time next year for them to review some things, put together a report. Ultimately, that advances to the General Assembly. So by the time they wrap up their work in spring of 2023, they can then extend the board yet another time at that point in time. Land Grant Study Committee, I know the president will speak on that in terms of what is going on that related to her upcoming reports. Did want to mention, as you know, we've got legislation, we have things on the state level, and then we have things on the federal level. There are a lot of federal laws, as we know, that affects institutions of higher ed, including TSU. One of those is Title IX. And we know with the change of administration from the Trump administration to the Biden administration, there are going to be changes regarding interpretations or regulations. One area is in Title IX. I sit on a Association of Public Land Grant Universities Council of Lawyers. It's a group of lawyers from across the country, and we meet regularly to discuss matters affecting mostly land grant institutions, but other institutions. Our Council of Lawyers developed a core principles for the new Title IX regulations and came up with things regarding the development of prevention programs, the need to develop regulations in partnership with all relevant community members, the need to bring regulations in line with the recent Supreme Court precedent, and the need to clearly delineate the division between the OCR's enforcement role and the technical assistance role, which is really answering questions while not jeopardizing getting in trouble with the OCR by coming forward with questions. So our group, our council, was able to meet with the Assistant Secretary for Civil Rights for the U.S. Department of Education a few weeks ago and express our comments and issues to her and some other DOE attorneys to discuss the APLU's core principles. We believe the meeting went well and that they took our issues seriously. As to legislation on the state level, we have a couple of things I will just draw your attention to. One is the legislation that passed that prohibits institutions of higher education from requiring a person to receive a vaccination, a COVID vaccination. With that said, I think the institutions have all been talking, and I think what we're doing at TSU is encouraging, is providing education and information to people and in providing, more importantly, probably access to individual. We know that with students, if there's a hassle factor involved, then you're less likely to achieve what you're looking to achieve in terms of especially something like vaccination. So I know Dean Stevenson and his group are working very hard to make that happen, while at the same time making sure that we adhere to the law that doesn't make us require that a person get a vaccination in order to attend the institution. Another item of note is the law that passed regarding student athletes and being able to earn compensation for the use of the student athlete's name, image, or likeness under certain circumstances. So we're working with the athletic department with Director Mickey Allen on this and implementing this, which will take effect in January, and making sure that we have an infrastructure in place that supports that, but at the same time that we are in compliance with the law. So I believe that Chair Walker concludes my report.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Secretary Pendleton. And Dr. Glover, do you have any comments? Okay. Well, thank you so much, Secretary Pendleton. And this really concludes our executive committee meeting. So I will now call for an adjournment. Second.
Second.
Right. Any questions? All in favor? Secretary Pendleton, please call the roll.
Okay. Trustee Walker.
Yes.
Trustee Cole.
Yes.
Trustee Corbill.
Aye.
Trustee Martin.
Aye.
We have 4 ayes.
Right. Motion is accepted and moved. Thank you.
Well, we are.
A few minutes left. Oh, go ahead, Lawrence.
I'm sorry. I was just going to comment that we are running actually a little bit ahead with the audit scheduled to occur at 10 o'clock. So I didn't know how you all wish to proceed.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Just gonna take a quick break. Is that what we're saying? Till 10 o'clock, or we can stay put?
That's appropriate. Yes. Thank you. I always try, in every aspect of my life, to give minutes back. I'm going to get a glass of water. So we'll start back at 10 o'clock.
Amen.
Thank you.
Hello, Mr. Allen.
Well, hello, Dr. Cole. How are you?
I'm great. I'm great. I look forward to seeing you other than on Zoom.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So where are you located again?
In Nashville.
You're in Nashville. Well, shoot, I can come by and see you anytime.
Yes, ma'am.
Excuse me, participants, remember we're being live streamed.
Correct.
No, that sounds good. I do look forward to seeing you in person as well.
That's all I was going to say, Dr. Phillips.
She's keeping us on track. I appreciate that.
I know we're being live streamed, but that tiger is just absolutely gorgeous. So I want to live stream that.
I think Dr. Melton is working on something to make it raw when you put your QR code in front of it or something.
That is true. Robbie Melton Smart Center Innovation.
Really? That's great.
Good morning, Mr. Lewis, Trustee Lewis.
Good morning.
Dr. Cole back?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, I believe that
Trying to see if your members are here so we can get started.
actually we are waiting for one person on the audit committee to rejoin us.
All right, good.
Chair Cole, I understand that Trustee McKenzie will be joining us in a little while. We have a quorum with your presence and Trustee Lewis's presence. So if you wish to proceed, and you can, and
Yes.
McKenzie can join us at that time.
Yes, if we could, please, sir. Okay. All right. Good morning, everyone. First, I'd like to say to Dr. Allen and Mr. Allen, I look forward to working with both of you. The June 17th, 2021 Audit Committee is now called to order. Before we get started, we need to make certain findings on the record regarding the necessity for conducting this meeting by electronic participation without a physical quorum present due to the coronavirus pandemic. So I'll read from the document that we have. In accordance with the Tennessee Code annotated section 844108B2, as chair of the audit committee, I offer the following facts and circumstances in support of a finding of necessity for the audit committee to conduct this meeting without the physical presence of a quorum. The audit committee is scheduled to take up important matters that require timely action by the committee, including the review of internal audits and audit activities, approval of the 21-22 audit plan, and a discussion of items deemed confidential under state law. Second item, participation by electronic means. This is necessitated by ongoing health and safety issues pertaining to the COVID-19 pandemic. Electronic participation for the committee meeting is necessary to ensure the safety of board members, staff, and guests while the institution implements additional measures to resume its in-person operations. 3, accordingly, I move the audit committee find that participation by a quorum of the audit committee members by the electronic means of communication is necessary. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, the question is on the motion to find that participation by a quorum of the audit committee members by electronic means of communication is necessary. Secretary Pillington, please call the roll.
Trustee Cole,
Yes.
Trustee Lewis.
Here.
We have a quorum, Chair Cole.
Okay, the motion carries. We will proceed with the meeting with the quorum present. At this time, we need to call the roll. Secretary Pillington, please call the roll.
Trustee Cole,
Yes, here.
Trustee Lewis.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay. Committee members, if you cannot hear or speak to the other committee members or board members, please state so now. For each committee member participating electronically, please identify any individuals who are present in the location for which you are participating. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the March 11, 2021 Audit Committee meeting minutes. The minutes for the Audit Committee March 11, 2021 meeting are included for your review in the board materials for the June 17, 2021 board meeting. I move for the Audit Committee to recommend to the full board the approval of the March 11, 2021 Audit Committee meeting minutes as contained in the board material for the June 17, 2021 board meeting. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? The question is on the motion to recommend to the full board the approval of the March 11, 2021 Audit Committee meeting minutes as contained in the board material for the June 17, 2021 board meeting. Secretary Pillington, please call the roll.
Trustee Cole,
Yes.
Trustee Lewis.
Aye.
Okay. The motion is approved. The next item on the agenda is the annual report of the audit office audit activities. Information regarding this audit committee agenda item is included in your board materials for the June 17, 2021 board meeting. President Glover, please provide pertinent information related to this agenda item. This is an informational discussion item, so no vote is required.
Good, thank you. We'll call Ms. Davis, Adrian Davis.
We have prepared our year-end report of our annual audit office activities. Our office activities are guided by our annual audit plan. So the report details the audits that were completed during the year and those that are currently in progress. For the audits that were completed and resulted in audit findings, we have also included in the report the details of such audit findings. We will be following up on these findings in the upcoming fiscal year to ensure that the issues have been addressed. Also, there are 2 audits included in the report for which we have not discussed, for those reports were completed since our last audit committee meeting. We will discuss those reports today. And there was also an audit committee request that was addressed since our last meeting. We will begin by discussing the first completed audit. We performed an audit of foundation gifts. We were looking at a period of July 1, 2020 to March 31st, 2021. We had 3 audit objectives with this audit. We were testing to determine if gifts received by the TSU Foundation were timely deposited. We were testing to determine if gifts received by the TSU Foundation were timely recorded. And we were also testing to determine if gifts received by the TSU Foundation were spent in accordance with donor intent. To address the first objective, we obtained the gift logs maintained in the TSU Foundation. The gift logs document the details of gifts received on each day. We obtained the gift logs for the period July 2020 through March 2021. For the period of September 2020 through March 31st, we obtained documentation for 13 individual dates on the gift log. We were testing to determine if the deposits for each date were made within 1 business day in accordance with policy. We did find where 12 of the 13 deposits were made timely within 1 business day. There was 1 deposit which was not made within 1 business day. The deposit was made 3 business days late, as it was made 4 business days after funds were received. But the office was operating on a COVID-19 schedule where staff were working remotely, so that did impact the ability to have the funds deposited within 1 business day. Overall, it was determined that there was compliance in this area, but due to the volume of funds received and the total of funds that can be received in 1 day, it is imperative that 100% compliance be achieved in this area. Our second objective to determine if—
Wait just a minute, Director Davis. I'd like for it after each item, I've read this report in detail.
Yes.
After each item, I'd like to hear any comments anyone might have.
Okay.
So I'll make sure I understand on this one, the one that was the 17,000, you're saying that it was 4 business days late, but you're saying that was due to COVID?
It impacted it. It wasn't.
But I thought I read somewhere in here that there were certain days that individuals were coming to the office to take care of the deposits.
They were coming to the office 2 days a week, and it wasn't the 100% explanation, you're correct, but there was an impact due to them not working each day.
Yes, ma'am, I understand. I think that was an excuse though. But what I would suggest that I agree that we got to make sure this is done. I do understand there's only 1 finding, but it's $17,000, okay?
Correct.
So after each objective that you have, I'd like to hear any comments anyone has, okay?
Okay.
Trustee Cole, can I speak?
Yes, ma'am, please.
I'd just like to say that I'm really disappointed, even with COVID going on, that we did not make an effort to have these deposits made in a timely manner. We have a fiduciary duty to make sure any money's taken care of in a proper manner. And I just feel like, even with COVID, I think that 3 days was excessive. So I just want to make that comment.
Thank you, Trustee Martin, and I agree with you 100%. As in Trustee McKenzie is not on the phone right now, but as Trustee McKenzie and Trustee Lewis often say, when you're talking about money, this is where we really get in trouble, and we really have a problem. So I agree with Trustee Martin on that. The next one, please.
Wait.
I'm
please.
sorry, Dr. Lewis.
I too took time to read every line of this report. And I noticed something regarding the foundation gifts. Item number 2 says the former director of fiscal affairs. Does that mean that that individual is no longer at the university in that capacity?
Correct. That individual is at the university, but not in that capacity.
Was someone else put in that capacity?
Yes, with the title of Director of Foundation Accounting.
Was that a promotion?
Trustee, let me just key into that. We have met with the auditors, the state auditor, on numerous occasions, and their findings corroborate with what Ms. Davis' findings, Director Davis' findings. So that person is no longer in that position. That person is working in another position with the foundation. We're reviewing all positions now in accounting and finance, and this is where we are right now. There's more, as she goes through the audit report, you'll see other areas that of concern. So your question may be answered during that time period, but to answer your question, that person is no longer in this position, but the person is still working with the university.
So we took a person that was not doing a job in one position and moved them to another position in the foundation. I recommend that we continue to evaluate those positions. I don't think that's a good move, but that's just my opinion. But Dr. Glover, please continue to review those positions. Dr. Lewis, you have anything else?
Yes, I just want to concur with what you just said.
Yeah, if it's appropriate for me to say, this is a little bit ahead, but it says that the director of the Tennessee State University Foundation is the former director of fiscal affairs.
Mr.
Right?
If we could, please, would you please bring that up in the section when we get to it, sir? So that we can address each one of them, please.
Okay, all right.
Okay, well, we want to address it. I just want to deal with each section.
Okay, all right.
Director Davis.
For our second objective, we were testing to determine if gifts received by the TSU Foundation were timely recorded. This area significantly impacts our ability to correct the prior audit findings with the Division of State Audit. If we're not timely recording our transactions, we are not able to timely and accurately prepare our financial statements and have those reviewed, which has been the core of our issues and caused the findings in the past. In addition, it prevents us from being able to complete timely and accurate bank reconciliations and ensure that we can identify reconciling items. For that reason, we obtained the bank statements for the foundation for the period of January 2020 through March 2021. We focused our sample on the current fiscal year. For the months of July 2020 through March 2021, we randomly selected 66 deposits from those bank statements for the TSU Foundation. We requested from TSU management support for those deposits which were made into the TSU Foundation bank account, and we wanted support to show that the transactions had been recorded. We set a time frame of 10 days wherein which once the funds were received in the TSU Foundation bank account that the transaction should be reflected in the accounting records. For the 66 transactions, we did find where 20 of those 66 deposits, the transaction related to those deposits were made within 10 days of the receipt of those funds. However, there were 3 of the 66 transactions which had not been recorded. As of April 28th, those 3 deposits were 204, 98, and 83 days unrecorded. There were an additional 20 deposits for which management could not confirm that those deposits, the transactions related to those deposits had been recorded. The new director of foundation accounting, who was hired to replace the director of fiscal affairs in the role of preparing the accounting, performing the accounting duties for the foundation, is undertaking a reconciliation where she has obtained a list of all gifts received since the beginning of this fiscal year. And that list will be compared against all transactions in the system to determine if these transactions were recorded and to identify any others that were not. If these 20 selected deposits were determined not to have been recorded, as of April 28th, they would have been 114 to 301 days unrecorded. There were 23 transactions where they were recorded, but they were not recorded timely. These transactions were recorded from 11 to 266 days after the funds were received, and there was an average of 99 days. Many of these transactions were recorded by the current director of foundation accounting, but they related to months earlier in the current fiscal year. We also noted an issue whereby when transactions were being recorded, they were not always recorded in a manner that allowed for the foundation to use these funds for the benefit of the university, because the funds were being recorded to the suspense account. And we had several instances, and we've noted 3 in the report, where the donor was identified. However, the funds were not moved from the suspense account so that the funds can be used for their stated purpose. Ultimately, it was determined for this objective that transactions were not being timely recorded, and sometimes they were oftentimes not recorded at all. Another issue that we ran into was 10 months into this 12 months fiscal year, the former director had not recorded any of the foundation's investment related transactions. So we did need to hire our new director of foundation accounting. She has undertaken ensuring that those transactions have been entered. They are current as of March or April. Many of the transactions which were not recorded in the previous months have now been recorded. She has begun initiating the preparation of bank reconciliations for the months since she's arrived in March. But overall, we were not in a position to address the findings that has plagued this office for many years.
Well, Director Davis, and I read all that was in there. Well, the first thing is, this is absolutely unacceptable. This is crazy. And I don't know who the former person is, and I really don't care, but that person reported to someone, I would imagine. Okay, I doubt we have somebody in the institution who doesn't report to someone. So that person to which he or she reported is also responsible. I read in here what we continuously say, the former director did A, B, and C. Well, the former director's person to which he or she reported also has a responsibility in this. This is just totally, absolutely unacceptable. And I don't want to come back and ever see anything like this again. I am positive, and please correct me, Dr. Gulliver and Director Davis, if I am in error, that this type of situation has to have had a very negative effect on our examination from the state. You know, we talked about in there bank reconciliations that hadn't been done for years, and I told you all in meetings before that eventually that repeat finding was going to get us in trouble, and it did. Now, this has to stop. And again, I am very disappointed that we took a person that wasn't doing his or her job and moved them to some other job and probably at the same salary they were there. I don't know that for fact, but I would imagine so. I think that is unacceptable. So Mr. Allen, does this individual now report to you?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I want to ask you to please make sure that somehow you have a control, that we know that these items are being deposited and recorded, et cetera, in a timely manner, sir.
Absolutely.
I'm going to ask you to please take responsibility for that. Make sure that is done. Now, the problem with this is when you look at these dates that are in here, when the auditors come in, it doesn't end with today. So for instance, if the transaction was July 2020, okay, that's in the 2020-21 year. Am I not correct, Director Davis?
Correct.
So when an audit is done for 6/30/2021, we have a problem. If there's a transaction that came in July of 2021, we have a problem for the 2022 year. So it continues, and then we get repeat findings. So I understand that this new person has come in and has done these things, and I'm going to ask you, Ms. Allen, to please make sure that these were done, and at the next meeting to come back and give us a report. Dr. Glover, I'm going to ask you to please do whatever is necessary to make sure that this does not come up again, because this is what will get us on, as ex-trustee Mitchell used to say, will get us on the front page of the newspaper. And again, I keep referencing Dr. Lewis and Mr. McKenzie, but every meeting they have said, we can't have problems with money. So I know that's probably too many comments that I made, but I feel that it is just that critical. I was so disappointed when I read this section, but I will be quiet so I can listen to other individuals and any comments that they may have.
Dr. Cole, Richard Lewis, if my memory serves me well, there was an individual that has been hired by the university, by the vice president of finance within the last 6 months that has the title of controller. If that is true, does the individual working for the foundation report to the controller? Does the director report to the controller, or does the director report to Mr. Allen?
Oh, I don't know, but I only address Mr. Allen because he's over the controller. But Dr. Glover or Mr. Allen, Warren, would you all please address that particular question, please?
Yes, ma'am, Madam Chair. I actually oversee all of business and finance, so ultimately it reports to me. However, that position does report to the controller that reports to me.
Okay, so that's why I addressed you, Mr. Allen, because ultimately it comes back to you just as, and I know you just got here, okay? And I get all my positive comments in up front on all the other meetings. When I get to this one, most of the time it's not very positive. But that's why I addressed you, Mr. Allen, in that I'm please don't take this in the wrong manner. We're holding you responsible for going forward to make sure that this does not occur again. And please, this has to stop. This is just, and I know this had to have a profound effect on the audit. And if there is some reporting problems, situations, challenges between the university and the foundation in terms of these employees that deal with the finances, Dr. Glover, please address that and get it worked out immediately.
So you were asking me if it's the relationship between accounting at the foundation, accounting for the university. I believe that's what you were asking. Is that correct?
Well, I'm just saying that I think that these problems here had to reflect on our audit. And yes, I'm not sure exactly how the reporting works. So I'm just saying to you that if there's some challenge with the reporting between the university and the foundation, it needs to be worked out immediately.
It does. In speaking with the auditors, there were substantial problems with the foundation accounting, no question about that. But the auditor has to give one opinion on the financial statement. They can't say TSU financial statements, you're fine. Foundation financial statements, you're not fine. It has to be one combined report. And so therein lies the challenge. So we had to make sure that the foundation accounting had to be brought up to where it needs to be. And there has to be more oversight over that. And so we're correcting that problem, but it was an issue. In fact, it was such a public issue. I had to go down there last November and defend it. So we're never going to be in that position again, where we have to defend the foundation accounting. And TSU accounting was not the greatest, but the biggest problems that we had occurred because of deposits not being made. Well, deposits being made, but not being reported. And when they're not reported on the books, there's no such thing as a reconciliation if the deposits are not recorded, and you can't. And the books, the bank, and the book must reconcile. That's what a reconciliation is. And so when that happened, it brought us to a new low. And so we've asked the new vice president of business finance, who's gotten on it. The provost held it together until the new person came on board, Mr. Allen. And so Jay Turner came in and was just phenomenal in working through all these issues, these problems. We have talked to the chair of the foundation board to make him aware of how serious it is. Since we're trying to improve relationships between the TSU and the foundation board. So we're trying to rely on some of their input as to this person, and this person is still here. We didn't want to further deteriorate the relationship. We're trying to build it up. So we believe that putting this person in a new position will, one, strengthen relationships between the university and the foundation, and two, we're going to do all we can to help this person to succeed in that position. That's where we are now with it.
Well, thank you, Dr. Glover.
Yeah, at the risk of being redundant, I don't think there's anything more important to the university overall than getting this correct. It just I won't be redundant, but I think you all know how I feel about it. They don't expect us to be able to handle money properly, and that just flies in the face of fundraising, and many of our programs are going to have to depend on our ability to raise money and to manage the money that we get. And it's just I won't be redundant, but I just wanted to make that point.
Dr. Cole, I want to ask Dr. Glover a question. She brought up the auditors and their reports, of which this report is a part of. Doesn't all of this end up in the education committee's hands, who reviews our budget? Am I correct about that?
The Sunset Committee had the auditors who come in and review. And that was the first report that came in that was really bad about the reconciliations being so out of whack. And to the extent that that committee reports to some legislative group, the answer is yes.
And we need, as a board of trustees, understand when it leaves the board, the president leaves the board of trustees and goes downtown to the legislative people, we have to get our act in order. I'm through. Thank you.
Okay, last comment, Dr. Glover, you mentioned, and maybe the board can work into this, you mentioned about the relationship with the foundation. And I admire your efforts in doing that. I really do. But when it comes to this money, I don't know how we, if we need to meet with them or whatever, when it comes to the money, the relationship with the foundation is secondary.
Indeed.
Because one, I don't like how they talk to you from audit results that I've been on the telephone with. I don't like how they talk to my president, but that's what happens when people don't do their job. So I support improving the relationship with the foundation, but I cannot make it a priority over getting the finances correct. And the foundation has to understand that when it comes to the finances, that's the priority. That's under your control. Now, in terms of that person stayed to strengthen the foundation, I'll leave that alone if that's what you felt was the best decision. So I think we strengthen the relationship with the foundation in any way that we can, other than compromising the accuracy, the promptness, and effectiveness of financial information. And then I won't be redundant. I'll be quiet at that and ask our Director Davis if no one else has any comments to go forward.
Trustee Cole, I'd just like to just add to this. I agree with you and all the others that have already talked, and I won't continue to say this, but it's pretty disappointing that this is the conversation we have at every board meeting.
Every board meeting.
Every board meeting. It is so disappointing that we continue to have this conversation. And piggybacking on Trustee McKenzie, how do you go out and expect someone to give you any money at all and think that we are not responsible in taking care of the funds that they give? People, when I donate or anybody else donates, they expect you to be responsible in receiving those funds. And we definitely have not done that. I am actually embarrassed. I don't know how long we've been talking about this. I just continue to hear Trustee Cole say it over and over and over again that this has to be fixed. And here we are again on June the 17th, 2021, having the same conversation. And then you can also believe when auditors come in and the state of Tennessee is reviewing the large sum of money that they should be giving Tennessee State University, that gives them an opportunity to say, why should we give them all of this money? They are not responsible. It's not a responsible institution. And it's just disappointing. Again, they expect us to act in that manner, and we should not be doing it. It's disappointing, and I'm gonna leave it alone.
Well, I'm gonna try to summarize the comments, and I'm gonna say, number one, I don't agree with the decision that the person is still there. I do understand that the person is still there in order to try to develop the relationship with the foundation. But I think something should have been, I hope something was done relative to the person was put on probation or something. The second comment that in summary is that I think the entire board agrees and the committee agrees that the relationships with foundation is secondary to the accuracy of the financial information. And if I understand what Dr. Glover explained, other than she very quickly said, you know, this is just accounting 101 is basically what she said. But also if I understand what she said, this is an audit issue. If this is an audit issue, it goes in the audit report, and you all can correct me if I'm wrong. So if it goes in the audit report, then it's eventually gonna go to the SACS committee, then that doesn't look good on us. So I'm gonna summarize it, and I'm gonna say, Dr. Glover, I am gonna hold, as chair of the audit committee, I think it is my responsibility that I will have to hold you as president responsible for making sure that this report is fixed and that we get an update in the next board meeting as to where we are. And I'll finish with that.
Thank you, Dr. Cole. We will do that. And by the next report, we will, the next audit, the next meeting, we will make sure that we have a report ready for you, and it will be a cleaned up report, cleaned up from where we are now.
Thank you, ma'am. Director Davis.
Okay. Our final objective with this audit was to determine if the gifts that were being received by the TSU Foundation were spent in accordance with the donor intent. We obtained the expenses for the period July 1, 2020 to March 31st, 2021. The expenses totaled $1.982 million. 82% of that total were scholarship awards to university students. The remaining 18% were in the operating expense category. We selected a sample of the scholarship awards, and the sample included awards to 212 individual students and represented $939,000 approximately. While reviewing the awards to the student against the criteria established by the donor, for 200 of the 212 students, we did not find any issues. We did find where 12 of the 212 students did not meet all awarding criteria as stated by the donor for 4 separate awards. The students did not meet such criteria, such as being enrolled full-time, enrolled in 12 credit hours. There was an award that was for female students, which was awarded to a male student, and students didn't meet the GPA threshold as stated in the award criteria. We also looked at the operating expense category and found that, well, we looked at 25 disbursements that were $241,000 of the $361,000 total. We did not find any issues with that sample. Overall, we determined that this area still was high risk, even though there were only 12 students who had issues of the 212, because it is vitally important that we follow and adhere to the criteria as established by the donor.
Director Davis, I've made all my comments relative to anything that relates to this. The only thing I would say, this is a high-risk area. I would ask that you change your audit schedule and come back and audit this area in a manner that would be more recent than you had originally projected.
Okay, will do.
Dr. Cole, this is Andre Johnson. Can I ask a question, please?
Yes, sir. Please.
One of my questions that I've been listening to all this, and I think everybody's on the same page, but is there any way to bifurcate the financial reporting for the foundation from the university? In other words, is there any way to if we don't have absolute control over the foundation and their activities, and it affects us in a negative way, raising money and operating the university, is there any way that it can be bifurcated so that they don't have to be combined for an audit perspective?
Well, Attorney Johnson, we can't take them out from an audit perspective. They are the foundation, but if you read their mission and how they're established, when the auditors come in, they won't do an audit of the university and then do an audit of the foundation and then report 2 different information. They can't be taken out of there. Okay. If I'm in the error, you all please correct me. It can't be separate. It's one report. And if you go back over the years, this has been a continuous problem. I agree with you, though. We've got to get the handle, and we talked about this. I'm not going to go back on getting this, but no, sir, to my knowledge, we could not separate those. Am I correct, Director Davis?
So David, Ms. Day, will you address that, the county, government accounting?
Yes, you are correct.
How you can't separate the rules.
Yes. The accounting standards require that they be presented together. So we would not be allowed to separate the 2.
Well, do we then have authority, and again, excuse my ignorance, I don't clearly understand the relationship, but do we then have authority to exercise more dominion and control over the accounting standards, since there seems to be a problem which is affecting us?
To my knowledge, we do not. It's actually a finding if we do not put them in there together. That would represent a finding on its own.
But I think what
he's asking a different question is, do we have any jurisdiction whatsoever that will allow us to manage the foundation if in fact they're really dragging us through the mud around the audit?
Well, Trustee McKenzie, Trustee Johnson, this has been an ongoing situation. I used to sit on the foundation board, and recently, the last several years, this has been an ongoing situation in terms of the relationship between the foundation and the university. And I do think we have to look at that. As I said in the comment before, the relationship with the foundation to me is secondary to the financial reporting.
Absolutely.
So that has to be made, very, very clear to them. But that is something that I think that this board has to look at some point in time as to what we're going to do and how we're going to actually address and handle this, the relationship. But I just express again, the relationship with the foundation to me is secondary to the accuracy of the financial reporting. And Attorney Johnson, thank you for bringing those comments up because we did need to address them. So I'm going to ask Dr. Glover that at some point in time we put on quickly, not a year from now, that we look at what can we do and we discuss exactly how the relationship with the foundation and the Board of Trustees works. And please let me go on record and say, I am not in any manner trying to create any controversy. I am just only interested in the reputation and the audit of the university as a whole, which includes, at this point in time, information from the foundation. And I'm looking for a way to handle this in a more positive manner. And I think that, and I don't know if you said, I don't know if we can establish a committee. I don't know how we do that, but we must look at it.
I'd like to go on record in saying that we're in a situation where the tail is wagging the dog. And I would hope that we address it sooner rather than later, that we look at the legal implication or our legal authority to get control of the finances of the accounting practices of the foundation.
Okay.
Dr. Cole, may I speak if you don't mind?
Yes, sure.
Okay, thank you. And I just wanted to let you all know that as soon as I came on board here at Tennessee State, and I'm glad to be here, this was a very high priority on Dr. Glover's list. This is actually one of the first things we talked about. There are actions in place now to mitigate and circumvent these issues going forward. Though I was not here, I own it, and I'll make sure that these things are cleared up in a timely fashion. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. And I'm glad that you own it going forward. I'm not holding you responsible for what happened in the past, but going forward. But again, I do think as Trustee Attorney Johnson commented and Trustee McKenzie, that we do have to look at this overall relationship. And again, I'm going to ask you, Dr. Glover, sooner than later, as McKenzie said, let's get this down on the agenda for us to look at. We're not trying to create any controversy. We're merely trying to do what is the best for Tennessee State University.
We got it. We understand perfectly. Thank you.
Director Davis.
That concludes that individual report. Do we have any other questions? Our second item related to an audit committee request. At our previous meeting, we presented the results of our audit of the Department of Human Resources, and we were noting non-compliance as it relates to timely completing the I-9 forms, which are required to be completed to document that an employee is eligible to work in the United States. Trustee Segment inquired if we were aware of the department's intentions to use the E-Verify system. And at that time, we were not knowledgeable of their plans. Dr. Cole asked that we come back to the current meeting with a report on the department's decision. The E-Verify system is a web-based system that will allow employers to confirm the eligibility of their employers to work in the U.S. It does so by comparing information on the employee's I-9 with information available to the Social Security Administration and the Department of Homeland Security. The Associate Vice President for Human Resources has confirmed that the department will begin to use the E-Verify system in fiscal year 2022, and they hope to begin doing so in July. They are currently reviewing the Memorandum of Understanding, which is an agreement between the Department of Homeland Security and the university, which spells out the terms of using the E-Verify service. There is no fee for using the service, but we are currently reviewing that Memorandum of Understanding to enter into an agreement to begin using this service to verify our employees for employment in fiscal year 2022.
Dr. Cole?
Yes, sir.
And I think this is a great step because, as I explained in the last board meeting, there are certain requirements, especially for international students who have PhD degrees in the United States that may prevent them to work with us. But I think this is great. I'm really happy about it, that HR will be administering E-Verify in the upcoming year. Thank you.
Oh, and thank you for when you brought it up. Dr. Nicholas Phillips, would you please make sure that everyone has my correct email address so that I notice this letter in here so that I can make sure I get a copy of anything that is addressed to me in a timely manner. And I think the problem may be you have to put the underscore in the name, but I did not get that copy. Okay. Director Davis.
I will, thank you.
And our final item was a review of student housing revenue. We looked at the fall 2020 and spring 2021 semesters. Our objective with this review was to determine if controls were in place to ensure that the revenue was properly recorded in the system. And we were also looking for compliance with federal, state, or institutional policies related to hiring in student housing. There was a finding in the area of compliance with a federal, state, or university policy related to that hiring in student housing. Those details are confidential, so we will have to discuss those in executive session. As far as our first objective, we spoke with faculty in the Department of Residence Life and Housing. We were told that they use the RMS Mercury software system to manage student housing. This system is used for students to apply for space in student housing. It houses the assigned dorm or apartment, the rates, the check-in date or check-in and check-out dates for the student. The information in RMS Mercury is electronically transferred to the Banner student system. For that reason, we obtained a listing of the transactions for the fall and spring semesters from the Banner student system and compared them with the transactions in the RMS Mercury system. There were 2,167 students. Overall, we noted no issues when comparing these two systems. However, there were 7 students where we identified that the system had erroneously either applied a housing transaction twice or removed the housing transaction twice. Once we pointed this error out to management, they did timely correct the issue for the applicable students, for the 7 students. Once the information is entered into RMS Mercury, electronically transferred to Banner Student, it is then electronically transferred to Banner Finance, and that information is used to prepare our financial statements. For that reason, we obtained the information from Banner Student for the 2 semesters and compared it with the information in Banner Finance for the 2 semesters. There were over $14 million in charges between the 2 systems, for the 2 systems, and we noted a difference of approximately $100,000. When we examined this difference, it was determined that it was due to account adjustments for the students for semesters prior to the current fiscal year. When a student applies to the university and receives a housing assignment and or meal plan, and the student decides not to attend, or the student withdraws before the purge date, or they come and change plans or change rooms, then there will be an account adjustment needed for that charge. And it was determined that these charges were not made during the applicable semester, which impacted the reconciliation between the 2 systems for the current fiscal year. Overall, it was determined that the controls were in place to ensure that the charges are accurately entered into the system and transferred, but management was not timely in performing reconciliations to ensure that the student account charges are accurate for the semester for which it applies. We spoke with management in Residence Life and Housing and management in Auxiliary Services. Going forward in fiscal year 2022, meal plans will be handled by staff in Auxiliary Services, and management in Residence Life and Housing will handle the student housing charges. Even though the difference was less than 1% of total reported revenue, it does have an impact on the student, as they should be made aware of their account balances for the applicable semester at that time. And they have informed us that they will be performing timely reconciliations and making these adjustments as they occur, and we will follow up on that in the subsequent fiscal year.
Okay, thank you so much. Are there any comments on that? Okay, Director Davis.
That's it for that agenda item.
Okay. I just want to say that I do want to recognize, and we're very fortunate that we have a president that is a PhD, CPA, JD. And Dr. Glover, I do know because they were calling me all the time today about it. I do know that Dr. Glover spearheaded working on these reconciliations and audit report, but that's very expensive time on those type of areas. And I'm asking the staff, don't put her in that position. You know, we need her out raising money, not working on bank reconciliation. But she did what she had to do in order for we could get it done. And I want to thank her for being able to do so and for doing so. Also, do whatever you need to do to keep us off the front page of the paper. And I do appreciate comments that we're getting from the committee members and from the board, because remember, it is our responsibility to make sure that these things as a board that are done. And Dr. Glover, we are holding you responsible to make sure that these items get fixed. Director.
I would like to say that part of our effort also is to protect her reputation as a financial professional in the marketplace, who we're proud of and brag about. And we don't need to, because of our inability to do things the right way, drag her reputation down as we're trying to correct our problems here.
You're absolutely correct. She has a tremendous reputation. We want to maintain. She has a beautiful legacy in a number of things. And you're right, Dr. McKenzie. Director
and I'd like to concur with Dr. Cole and Over McKenzie about Dr. Glover. Please understand, I feel the exact same way.
Thank you. Director Davis.
That concludes that agenda item. I don't know if you.
Okay, what's the next one you have? I'm not looking at the agenda, I'm sorry. Is that, what's the next one? Do you have another one?
Discussion of the internal quality assessment.
Okay.
Oh, no, you have to open it up for us. I'm sorry.
I'm
done.
not even looking at that. I was so involved with the comments. I'm sorry. I didn't even, okay, let me see. Okay, the next item on the agenda, discussion of the office's internal quality assessment. Is that where I am, correct?
Yes.
Yes, okay, the materials for this agenda item are included in board materials for June 17, 2021 board meeting. And I'm asking President Glover and Director of Internal Audit, Ms. Adrian Davis, to provide pertinent information related to this agenda item. This is informational discussion item, so no vote is required.
Okay, Ms. Davis, continue.
Our office adheres to the standards of the Institute of Internal Auditors, the IIA. The IIA requires that we perform an annual internal quality assessment review. The purpose of this quality assessment review is to determine the level of compliance that the office has with the IIA standards and the IIA Code of Ethics. There are 3 potential conclusions for this review. You can be found to be generally conforming, partially conforming, or not in conformance. We performed our review of our office for the fiscal year ending 2021, and the office was found to be generally conforming with the IIA standards and the IIA Code of Ethics. And that's it for that agenda item.
Okay, anyone have any comments? Okay, thank you for providing that information. The next item on the agenda is approval of the fiscal year 2021-22 audit plan. The fiscal year 21-22 audit plan is included for your review in the board materials for the June 17, 2021 board meeting. I move for the audit committee to recommend to the full board the approval of the fiscal year 2021-2022 audit plan as contained in the board materials for the June 17, 2021 board meeting, with the addition of the update on auditing the foundation. Director Davis.
Okay. I second that motion.
Okay. Any discussion? The question is on the motion to recommend to the full board the approval of the fiscal 2021-2022 audit plan as adjusted, as contained in the board materials for the June 17, 2021 board meeting. Secretary Pendleton, please call the roll.
Apologize. Trustee Cole,
Yes.
Trustee Lewis,
Yes.
Trustee McKenzie.
Yes.
We have 3 ayes.
Okay. Then the motion has been approved. Is there any additional business?
Item number 7.
Sir?
Item number 7 on the agenda.
What is that? Did I miss that?
We have the audit plan, then we're going to executive session.
Okay.
Vote to go into executive session.
Right, that's where I was going, okay?
Right.
All right, so seeing none, is there a motion to adjourn the meeting to enter into executive session for discussion of items being confidential under state law?
So move.
Okay. Okay. Any discussion? Hearing none, the question is on the motion to adjourn the meeting to enter into executive session for discussion of items deemed confidential under state law. Secretary Pendleton, please call a roll.
Trustee Cole,
Yes.
Trustee Lewis,
Yes.
Trustee McKenzie.
Yes.
3 ayes.
Okay, the motion is approved. We are adjourned.
Okay, and at this time, we will pause